Enoch visited the Garden of Eden and tells us exactly what the forbidden fruit was. Trust me, 90% of people don't know this truth. Before we dive in, welcome to Sacred Mysteries, where we peel back the layers of biblical history to reveal hidden truths and fascinating stories. If you enjoy our content, consider subscribing, and we promise to keep bringing you engaging and enlightening videos. Today, we are going to discover the forbidden fruit that Eve ate. Some people believe that this fruit is an apple, while others believe it could be sex itself. There are many theories, but today we will discover the actual forbidden fruit that Enoch directly identified. Since there are so many theories about what the fruit is, this is the most direct theory in one of the godly books. We will explore this theory and two other theories that have been highly believed for centuries. But first, let me give you a bit of context for those who do not know the story of Eve and the so-called snake. Well, we all know our good mother Eve, the mother of all creation. According to the Book of Genesis, Eve was the first woman created by God to be a companion to Adam. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. So that is how we know Eve was created. When it comes to the snake, however, the Bible does not describe the creation of the serpent in the same direct way as Adam and Eve. However, God stated this about the serpent. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Although most people believe that the serpent is Lucifer himself, the Book of Enoch lets us know that this specific serpent who spoke with Eve was not actually Lucifer. In fact, it was one of the fallen angels who worked against God's will and desire for mankind. While Enoch was in heaven, he discovered the name of the serpent. One of the angels stated to Enoch, and the third was named Gadreel. He it is who showed the children of men all the blows of death. And he led astray Eve and showed the weapons of death to the sons of men, the shield and the coat of mail and the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death to the children of men. And from his hand they have proceeded against those who dwell on the earth from that day and forevermore. Okay, let's hear the important part again. And the third was named Gadreel. He it is who showed the children of men all the blows of death, and he led astray Eve. This verse pretty much lets us know that Lucifer has been getting blamed for something he probably didn't do. But obviously, this doesn't mean Lucifer is innocent, because he was the leader and ruler of evil. This verse implies that Gadreel might be the one who took on the role of the serpent in deceiving Eve. Gadreel is listed among the fallen angels who rebelled against God and took on wicked tasks to lead humanity astray. Now, once Eve was created, she was chilling in the beautiful garden. Just a regular day in the life of the women that had it all. I mean, except for freedom according to her. Anyways, I guess Adam did not update her on the rule about talking to strangers because she was obviously aware of the biggest rule that God stated. Of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. But obviously, it didn't take much convincing for Eve's head to be turned. According to Enoch, Gadreel approached Eve and stated, "Hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." This exchange is pivotal. Gadreel, the deceiver, who runs in Lucifer's crew, uses half-truths to entice Eve. He appeals to her desire for wisdom and power, making disobedience seem like a pathway to enlightenment rather than rebellion. This tactic is classic among deceivers, offering something desirable while hiding the true cost. We all know what happens next. Eve, convinced by Gadreel's words, eats the forbidden fruit and gives some to Adam, leading to the fall of humanity. Now we know that Eve ate this fruit, a fruit that apparently opens your eyes and allows you to gain the knowledge of good and evil. But what exactly is this fruit? Since the Bible did not give us an exact word on what the fruit is or looks like, let's check out what the Book of Enoch has to say about the fruit. For most people who don't know who Enoch is, Enoch is a significant figure in the Bible and is described as a man who walked with God. According to Genesis, Enoch lived a life so pleasing to God that he did not experience death in the usual way. Instead, he was taken up by God, which is a rare and profound testament to his righteousness and close relationship with the Creator. Enoch is depicted as a scribe and prophet who was given divine visions and revelations. He is shown as a mediator between God and the fallen angels, providing further depth to his role as a righteous servant of God. Now, the Book of Enoch actually gives us some insight into what the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil really was. In fact, after the angels had taken Enoch to different heavenly realms, they took him to the Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve were residing. Most people don't know this, but Enoch was one of the only people who went to see the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve were banished. And to be honest with you, this is the closest description we have about the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil according to someone who walked with God and was shown around heaven and earth by God's angels. This is what Enoch stated. And then I went towards the east, into the midst of the mountain range of the desert. And I saw a wilderness, and it was solitary, full of trees and plants. And water gushed forth from above, rushing like a copious water course, which flowed towards the northwest. It caused clouds and dew to ascend on every side. And then so I went to another place in the desert and approached the east of this mountain range. And there I saw aromatic trees exhaling the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh. And the trees also were similar to the almond tree. And beyond these I went afar to the east, and I saw another place, a valley full of water. And therein there was a tree, the color of fragrant trees such as the mastic. And on the sides of those valleys I saw fragrant cinnamon. And beyond these I proceeded to the east, and I saw other mountains, and amongst them were groves of trees, and there flowed forth from them nectar, which is named Sarera and Galbanum. And beyond these mountains I saw another mountain to the east of the ends of the earth, whereon were aloe trees, and all the trees were full of stacked being like almond trees. And when one burned it, it smelled sweeter than any fragrant odor. In the verses that Enoch mentions, most people believe he was talking about different parts of the Garden of Eden. He stated that he went to this isolated place that was in the desert, yet the place was filled with life, trees, and plants. Enoch described another area in the garden filled with water, and he encountered another part of the garden where aromatic trees exude the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh. These substances were highly valued in ancient times, often used in religious rituals, in symbolizing holiness, divinity, and the presence of God. Enoch continued talking about different areas of this place by stating, "And after these fragrant odors, as I looked towards the north over the mountains, I saw 7 mountains full of choice nard, and fragrant trees, and cinnamon, and pepper. And thence I went over the summits of all these mountains, far towards the east of the earth, and passed above the Erythraean Sea, and went far from it, and passed over the angel Zodiel. And I came to the garden of righteousness, and saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there of goodly fragrance, large, very beautiful and glorious, and the tree of wisdom whereof they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in height like the fir, and its leaves are like those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine, very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar. Then I said, How beautiful is the tree, and how attractive is its look. Then Raphael, the holy angel, who was with me, answered me and said, This is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old in years and thy aged mother, who were before thee, have eaten. And they learned wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. Enoch stated that the tree of knowledge looked like this. I came to the garden of righteousness and saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there of goodly fragrance, large, very beautiful and glorious, and the tree of wisdom whereof they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in height like the fir, and its leaves are like those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine, very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar. Enoch lets us know that the fruit from this tree is like the clusters of the vine, which pretty much means grapes. This is what a cluster of vine looks like. Clusters of the vine refer to flower clusters that bloom and set grape berries. These clusters are formed from flower inflorescences that emerge in the second season as flower clusters. The stalk extending out to hold the grape cluster is known as the bunch stem, while the stem of the individual grapeberry is the pedicel. Now there you have it. According to Enoch, the forbidden fruit was most likely grapes. After Enoch described how the tree and fruit looked, Raphael stated to him, "This is the tree of wisdom of which thy father old in years and thy aged mother who were before thee have eaten. And they learned wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden." Raphael, one of the archangels who was showing Enoch around heavenly and earthly places, let Enoch know that this tree of wisdom was the exact tree that Adam and Eve ate from before they were banished from the Garden of Eden. Now, how do we know that Enoch is telling the truth? The truth is we can never know 100% unless we have seen it ourselves. However, according to Enoch, he had seen it himself and shared the information with us. But most likely, Enoch may have been onto something because according to the Bible in Genesis chapter 2, the fruit and tree were described as pleasant. The Bible states, "And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." Even Eve described the fruit and tree as pleasant and beautiful. The Bible states, "And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat." And Enoch pretty much described the fruit in the same way. He stated, "And I came to the garden of righteousness and saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there of goodly fragrance, large, very beautiful and glorious, and the tree of wisdom whereof they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in height, like the fir, and its leaves are like those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine. Very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar." Enoch also described the fruit as beautiful and pleasant to the eye, and even smelled great. Across all three descriptions, the tree of knowledge is depicted as a highly attractive and significant entity that is tied to the concept of wisdom and knowledge. Whether it's through God's initial creation, Eve's temptation, or Enoch's mystical vision, the tree represents both beauty and the potential for enlightenment, but also the consequences that come with seeking the wrong knowledge. Now you might be wondering, okay, but why do most people think that the forbidden fruit is an apple? Well, the truth is, the belief that the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden was an apple is a result of many factors. However, this idea is not actually rooted in the Bible itself, where the fruit is simply referred to as the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, without specifying its type. One significant factor in the association between the apple and the forbidden fruit is the Latin language. In Latin, the word for apple is malum, which bears a striking resemblance to the word malum, meaning evil or sin. This linguistic similarity likely played a role in early Christian interpretations, leading to the apple becoming symbolic of the original sin of Adam and Eve. As Christianity spread throughout Europe, the apple was further entrenched as the forbidden fruit through cultural and artistic representations. During the Renaissance, artists began to visually depict the biblical story of the fall. The apple, being a common and easily recognizable fruit, was often chosen to represent the forbidden fruit in these artworks. Michelangelo's famous depiction of the fall in the Sistine Chapel is a prime example where the apple is prominently shown as the fruit from the tree of knowledge. These artistic choices became ingrained in popular culture, reinforcing the idea that the forbidden fruit was an apple. In Europe, the apple was frequently used as a symbol of temptation and sin in literature and iconography. This symbolic use further solidified the connection between the apple and the forbidden fruit, especially as Christianity became deeply rooted in European culture. The influence of the King James Bible, which does not specify the type of fruit, also contributed to the spread of this misconception. As the Bible became widely used in English-speaking cultures, the imagery of the apple from contemporary art and literature helped to cement its place as the forbidden fruit in the popular imagination. In modern times, this association has been perpetuated through literature, film, and other forms of media, making the apple synonymous with the forbidden fruit in the minds of many. However, it's important to note that this belief is more a product of historical and cultural developments than of scriptural evidence. Basically, there is no scriptural evidence that states the forbidden fruit is actually an apple, whether directly from the Bible or extra-biblical texts. However, many people continue to believe this misconception. Even though the Bible does not directly say that the forbidden fruit is a grape, grapes play a significant role in the Bible, symbolizing fertility, abundance, and God's blessings. They are mentioned in various contexts, often reflecting prosperity and divine favor. One of the most notable examples is the story of the spies sent by Moses to explore the land of Canaan. When the spies return, they bring back a cluster of grapes so large that it had to be carried on a staff between two men. This event, recounted in Numbers 13:23, highlights the fertility of the Promised Land and serves as a tangible symbol of the blessings God had in store for the Israelites. The grapes represented the richness of the land and the hope for a prosperous future. In the New Testament, Jesus uses the imagery of a vineyard and grapes to teach important spiritual lessons. In John 15 verse 18, Jesus says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit." Here, the vine and the grapes symbolize the relationship between Jesus and his followers, emphasizing the importance of remaining spiritually connected to him to bear good fruit. Grapes are also mentioned in the context of judgment and divine wrath. In Revelation 14:18-20, the harvest of the earth is likened to a grape harvest, with the grapes being trampled in the winepress of God's wrath. This vivid imagery portrays the final judgment and the consequences of sin. Throughout the Bible, grapes are intertwined with themes of blessing, judgment, and the covenant relationship between God and his people. Now, this is just an idea based on one of the biblical words on what the possible fruit of knowledge, or the fruit of good and evil, could be. If you are interested in seeing other options, because some scholars believe the fruit might be sex or even words themselves, let me know by leaving a comment down below, and we will explore the other ideas. Or if you have a theory on what the tree of good and evil could be, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe